I'd like to say hello to everyone, and we'll.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi. My name's Andre Chumley. We're here on I Am Asheville, and welcome to Brainstorm. And Brainstorm is very proud today to have just someone who needs no introduction, but I'll quickly introduce him anyway. And I'll also quickly say, a lot of people know I'm a synth addict, and I love synthesizing music and everything from Forbidden Planet through, all the 60s people like Raymond Scott and all the great inventors, Otto Luning and of course Bob Moog and all these amazing history that we've had, Tomita and Eno and Stockhausen, and you can go on all day, and we'll do a whole show on synthesizing music. But to have this event going on and to have who I think is just the dean of the modular Moog and of what we all think of as those first and continuing synthesizer sounds that we've heard, and to put it into a world of jazz and classical and all kinds of composition and make it make sense for us. I'm very proud to introduce Mr. Keith Emerson. And
well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to know my friend and keep friendly with. I hope it works after this interview.
Absolutely, yeah. After this, I don't know.
Andre, nice to be with you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I had the a lot of people know too. I do technical work for a lot of artists, and about 4 years ago, it was the end of March 2010, and this is a good place to start. I met you for the first time and began working for you and Greg Lake on the Emerson Lake tour.
Yes.
So that's about 4 years ago.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about a lot of things, and we want to talk about what you're doing now and what you're about to do. That's very important. But let me just say that real quick to people, that tour that I just mentioned, I haven't even opened it. I just got my copy of an intimate
the
evening.
Jura tour.
Yeah, this is the tour. This is only out in Japan now, but it'll be in America very soon. But we did that. Any thoughts have you gotten to listen to this yet, or did they even?
Actually, no, I haven't actually listened to that.
Yeah.
But I've got a rough idea of how it
Sure.
goes, of course. But the objective behind that was to have Greg and myself warm up on the road, and the prime objective was to play the High Voltage Festival in London, England, which was a huge festival. The headliners were ZZ Top. I think they played Saturday night, and ELP were meant to be playing on the Sunday night, but there was a time constrictant.
Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Deadlines, yeah. I was at that show, yeah.
And excuse me, I have to get my voice back here, and wearing my new dentures. So, but anyway, excuse all that. Yeah, but we had quite a long lead up, and I think the duo tour kind of filed Greg and myself down to what we were originally.
Mm-hmm.
Which was Greg being the lyricist and the singer, and me being the keyboard player. So what you hear is basically very much exposed in the way that I think the audience certainly the audiences that we played to, and we played to several audiences all over North America who really enjoyed it. They could actually hear all the notes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for whistling, but it's this damn plate. My new dentures. But there we go. Let's make some humour out of the whole thing.
Well, that's why we're here.
No, well, that's Well,
Forget the
I
music.
try to be humoristic, but
Well, absolutely, and I'll second that motion, Keith. That that was the response of the fans on this tour. They were really just delighted to hear these tunes, like from the inside.
in the raw,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you did a lot of piano solos every night. You would improv and really just take us out there, and that was
Well, it did give me the opportunity. Although that at the very beginning, I don't think Greg felt very comfortable with the improvisational things which I tend to get into, which I enjoy, which I think is the whole purpose of live performance. But I think he kind of accepted it reluctantly after a while. But it did work well, and it served well for both of us to lead up to this huge big festival in London, England, which was held in front of 40,000 people.
huge crowd. That's still the biggest show I've ever worked on. Yeah, that was a mind-blowing amount of people.
It was a big show, and I'm really pleased that it was pulled off. It came off great.
It did, and we touched on humor, which we'll come back to throughout the day. But one of the things I think your fans know this, because if they've seen other interviews with you, that you always have a great sense of humor and you love puns and the dark humor of the knives and the keyboards and things like that. But I remember, speaking of the improv, I remember in New York City, because we had a little Q&A section every night. If you remember, we would ask
Oh,
the
that's
audience.
right. Yes.
Do you remember what happened in New York City?
I don't remember where it was, but one of the questions and answers, some lady in the audience said, my biggest dream is to come and sit under Keith Emerson's piano and while he plays. So I thought that was kind of a very odd request. But I looked at Greg, and Greg went, yeah, bring her up. So this lady laid under the piano, and I played some piano for her. And it was quite a funny moment. Oh, the other request was some guy in the audience said, I know Hoedown. It's always been my dream to come up and play Hoedown on stage. So I said, well, come on up. So it was that sort of amount of freedom that went on,
Yeah, it really was, and I'm very happy that it's been captured. So everyone should look for that. Another thing.
Well, it's that what I just mentioned is not on that album.
Oh no, those little moments, folks. You'll have to go to YouTube.
Well, you have to get permission from the people that.
That's true. That's true. This is just a wonderful set list that you can find on the websites. But things the Barbarian, that was incredible to hear, and every night Pirates, C'est La Vie, and Tarkus is on here. So check that out. And we're gonna talk about what Keith's most recent releases are too. But those of you who don't know, because we live in an era where people don't go to bookstores, they don't, or not as much as they used to. Of course they do, but and we don't hear about these things sometimes. But wonderful book that Keith It's Autobiography, and it's called Pictures of an Exhibitionist. And can you tell us a quick bit about that, Keith? About the book and the experience?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a wonderful book. I'd say it's a pretty infamous book.
There you go.
And a pretty good expose on life on the road. And to give you an example, when I met Mari and I zoomed off to Europe, and I wanted to meet her again, and I gave her the book, and I said, well, read this. If you still want to see me afterwards, then
here's my number.
Great, good luck. Here's my number.
That's fantastic. You know? That's fantastic. No, that's great. That just puts the cherry on the top. But I love the book, and again, any of you that love road stories, find it at Amazon or something like that.
It's very open, and I had a lot of advice from very great writers that had written biographies of Jimi Hendrix, and I knew Chris Welch of Melody Maker very well. He offered me a lot of advice on how to construct a book. Quite honestly, I'd never written that's the first book I've ever written in my life.
Wow, yeah.
And I'd never written anything longer than, say, having to do something at school.
Right.
And write a chapter on something, or a précis, or something on some subject that I was obviously bored in. And my mother had all of my record collections, all of the criticisms, all of the reviews, and she'd faithfully stacked them up and dated them.
Wow.
So I thought, well, here is a book which is waiting to be written. And if anybody's going to write it, then I will write it.
We're glad you did.
Well, I think it's funny because my main authors, which were Clive James. There are loads of them, but I think if you're reading a book, particularly an autobiography, you really cannot go, well, this is about me. Me. No, you've got to have a sense of humility. If you're writing a book, it can't be all about you. You've got to approach yourself or reapproach yourself in a certain manner. Not to your own detriment, although it can come off that way. And I think some points did come off that way in my writings of Pictures of an Exhibitionist. But you really have to just go for the jugular. And in a way, you find it's very therapeutic.
Sure.
You kind of open yourself up and you go, while I was writing it, there were moments where I was laughing my head off.
I'm sure. And
there were moments when I was writing certain chapters where I was crying my eyes out.
Sure.
So, and I think that happens with most authors. Not that I consider myself an author.
No, well, that's a wonderful, that really rounds out my experience of the book. And again, I can't recommend it enough. And it's the kind of book that I would file in the synth history section and the music history section and the comedy section. Because it's, but it comes across as here's the things I've seen, here's the places I've been. So it doesn't. I think that's a great point you make about. I've read a couple autobiographies, and it's really like me, and you just kind of said, look what I saw, look at the things I.
Yes. Well, basically the publishers said, you seem to be putting yourself down a lot in this book, whereas a lot of other autobiographers just uplift themselves and I did this and I'm succeeded in this. No, it's not a book like that. No, it's a lot of failures, and as life goes on, as everybody knows, we all have failures in life at some point, and I try and dwell, but not too much, on the successes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which I think is, it's certainly part of my upbringing,
I think so. I think that's a big reason we're all here is those successes and those accomplishments. I want to quickly talk about a couple of things that are happening right now. The Keith Emerson Band, of course, you've been traveling around with that for at least a decade that I've been seeing you guys. And there's a wonderful album. It's simply called Keith Emerson Band featuring Mark Bonilla. And a great record. This is from a couple years ago, but it's still getting out there. So look for that. We'll have some links up and stuff. And I know you've been busy the last year or two with the Live in Moscow DVD, which is also the Keith Emerson Band. That's an incredible DVD. And the Three Fates Project. And I'd like you to talk about that. And that, for fans of Keith's classical side, a lot of us first heard with Works and with some of the early Copeland covers, the ELP and the Nice did. But Keith is still doing that. And as an aside, you were in Kentucky just 2 hours away.
Yes,
let's talk about that for a
last
second.
year.
Yeah, how did that go, conducting in Kentucky?
Well, actually, Jeffrey Beagle, who's a fantastic classical pianist, who's played my piano concerto many times, called me up, and then the conductor called me up, Jeff Reed, and suggested that they wanted me to come to Kentucky to just be in attendance. I said, do you want me to play? Because I'd like to practice first. I knew that Jeffrey Beagle knew my piano concerto better than what I did. I knew the notes, of course, but I hadn't played the piano concerto in front of with an orchestra for ages, So Jeffrey said, no, we just want you there to be part of the audience. And after speaking with Jeff Reed, the conductor and the manager of the Kentucky Philharmonic, I sort of I put the phone down and I thought about it. I said, well, I just can't go to Kentucky and not do anything. And I thought, yes, I will play something. What it is right now, I don't know. But I have a new piece of music which I've been composing, which is based on, it was actually called Glorietta Pass, mm-hmm. which is based upon the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And it was a fairly short piece of music. So in a moment of bravado, I suppose, as evenings go, have a glass of wine or something, I called him up and I said, listen, I've got this new piece of music. So Jeffrey goes, great. Can you send me the main score? I said, yeah, I can do that, but you got to. I said, I want to conduct it. He said, have you conducted before? I said, no, I haven't conducted before. So he said, well, if you think you can manage it, then great, go ahead. It's not easy. I went, okay. Hung up the phone. Next day, I'm calling around all my musical friends in a panic. Oh, God, what have I committed myself to? Can you find me somebody that conducts or can educate me in conducting? And they came up with a wonderful guy called Peter Bernstein. And it was offered that you may have heard of his father, Elmer Bernstein, that wrote the music to The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Sure.
So I thought, well, yeah, if he's okay about that, and he wants to give me conducting lessons, fantastic. So that's how it went. And Peter Bernstein and I met up in Santa Monica, and I was introduced to conducting, which I thought was just a question of waving your arms around, you know. But it was definitely nothing like that. And don't expect me to conduct Wagner.
Okay.
I'm still a beginner on that one. But if you're conducting your own piece of music, then it's a little easier.
Sure.
And also I think that orchestras today are so starved of new music. You know, they know the Beethoven symphonies, they know the Mozarts, they know that, you know. They don't actually have to look at the conductor. So the musicians of today are just absolutely wonderful. That they are so capable of going from jazz and everything. And I think, you know, the first time I conducted the orchestra, I said to them, I admitted to them, you know, listen, I'm not a conductor. And immediately I got their sympathy.
Sure.
And attention.
As opposed to their symphony.
Yeah. It wasn't like coming on like being very pompous. And I've seen some pompous conductors. I won't mention names. But I think, you know, if you come on and you say, listen, I've never done this before. If I need your help, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Help.
If you're honest with them and you got a sense of humility, you get the best out of the orchestra. And I certainly got the best out of the orchestra that you know.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I only saw some clips. I hope that there's some way that the whole thing it's not been released, right? The whole night of the.
Oh, I'm still working on stuff like that, but I'm working on three pieces for string orchestra. You know,
okay, so that's currently okay. Great. So that's coming up
Yeah,
this
it's
year
in
or
the
something?
process right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
That's great. Also, I'd like you to talk a little bit about, again, the very current
Oh
release,
yes.
The Three
So going
Fates.
back
Yeah.
to the Three Fates. So gosh. Well, my band, Mark Bonilla, and who is it? Troy.
Well, on this one, it's
No,
Terj
Travis
Mickelson.
Davis
Yeah.
on bass.
Yeah.
Mark
Travis.
Bonilla.
And then Terj Mickelson.
Terje.
Terje, sorry.
Terje Mickelson was the conductor on that, but we basically adapted a lot of works which had been originated by Yoshimatsu in Japan,
Right.
a fantastic arranger,
Yeah.
and we had corresponded via emails with passing scores over, as one does, and his objective was to have the Tokyo Philharmonic play Tarkus. And I thought, well, good luck. This, of course, it was always my objective to, have my compositions orchestrated and played live. But it came up that, the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra were going to play it. It was conducted by... Who was it conducted by, Mari?
Mr. Fujioka.
Who?
The Maestro Fujioka.
Yeah. All right.
Maestro Fujioka. Yeah.
Also Sado.
Yes. It was just an incredible occasion, and I was very honoured to be present at the premiere in Tokyo, and they certainly played the hell out of it.
It's amazing. Yeah. That again.
Well, you haven't heard it. That's not on that.
No, but there's some things on the
basis
internet.
of the basis of the arrangement on the Three Fates,
Right.
is based upon Yoshimatsu's arrangement
Of it. Okay.
of Tarkus, at least. There are originals which I
That's right.
did myself.
After all of this, and then
Yeah, that's
a
right.
couple of
After all this,
Mark-
that's original. Yeah.
So yeah, and of course with YouTube these days, these concerts happen and we all see little snippets and little sound bites. So I've seen that kind of thing, but I hope that also it has a beautiful release. So KeithEmerson.com, by the way, and those of you who don't know that, a lot of these things are of course up there, but you're very active with your Facebook website. I noticed there's always really great updates, and I know Mari does a lot of work with that.
I don't do that. She does that.
Yeah, excuse me. But thank you, Mari. And folks find the Keith Emerson page on Facebook too. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of musical activity. Excuse me, still at the center of your life, as it always has been. I'd like you to reflect for a minute on, the whole reason we're here and we have you sitting here is that you came into town for this great event that's happening. It's called the Moogfest, and anyone watching knows about that. This is a special one because it's the first one put on by... There you go. The first one put on by Moog Music Incorporated. It's been, just to say very quickly, it's ongoing. It's going on for another day and a half. And, Kraftwerk is here. I saw them last night, and a lot of really great younger bands, a great band called Adult that I just checked out. That's fantastic. And just too many to list. People can go look that up. But what I'm very pleased about is that they don't forget the legacy. And they have Giorgio Moroder is here, and Yesterday you were,
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
he's here. Yeah, he's somewhere in town today doing I think a symposium too. But as you know, yesterday you were in the building that they've dedicated to kind of some history talks and some workshops, and that was wonderful to see people like Dave Smith from who designed the Prophet synth sequential circuits, and Mr. Tom Oberheim and Roger Lynn,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're upstairs, Malcolm Cecil of Tonto,
Yes,
who
yes,
produced all
Malcolm.
the Stevie Wonder records, and Gil Scott Heron.
Yeah.
And you were there speaking yesterday and telling some wonderful stories. So, and then you performed on Thursday night. So give us, I'm just giving people an overview if they weren't actually here in town of what this wonderful event was like. And so I'd like you to reflect a little bit about what it's like to be in Asheville and to perform here for the first time.
Well, obviously, it's sorry about the whistle.
Do some scouse with
It's,
that.
it's the dentures, you know. So, but no, I did the first Moogfest, and I was very honoured to do that at B.B. King's Club in New York.
I was there.
That was the first one, and I remember there were quite a few of us there.
Larry Fast, I think, and Bob was there. And,
Bernie
yeah,
Worrell,
Adam Holtzman, and
yeah,
all kinds of people.
Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, Gershon Kingsley. And, yeah,
Was he there?
he might have been at the third one. You were at a couple of them actually, but do go on.
No, I don't remember Gershon being there.
Not the one you were. Okay.
There's a funny story about Gershon being at the first ELP concert,
Wow.
which when he heard ELP, he thought it was the end of the world. But that's another story which often made Bob crack up,
Sure.
laughing. Yeah. Bob Moog had an incredible sense of humour. He loved a good laugh, and Rick Wakeman could certainly provide the jokes.
Sure.
And whereas I'd just sit back as the straight guy or whatever, like, and interject sometimes. But there's no doubt about it. If you do an interview with Rick Wakeman, he takes a stand.
Yeah.
It's and it's quite entertaining, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this last night, but anyway, without diversing further, that was the first one. B.B. King's was the first Moog Fest. And then suddenly it all sort of changed, and I was asked to, if everything had shifted apparently to Asheville, and I had no idea where Asheville was on the planet, except it was somewhere on the East Coast, whereas I live on the West Coast. So they said, we'll fly you over in the hotel. I said, oh. And typically, with myself, it was a question of like, yeah, well, then I thought, the Moog synthesizer is monophonic, which means you can only play one note at a time. But then I thought, yes, I could accompany this with my left hand with another instrument. And what would that be? So at the NAMM festival, I came across, I was considering using Korg, as I've used for quite a long time.
Many years.
But I felt that it needed something a bit lighter and a bit more immediate. for what I had in my mind for a repertoire. And I actually really at the beginning thought that I could do this as just a solo act.
Mm-hmm.
But it quickly dawned on me that no, this won't happen. I could have probably done about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. I had a repertoire going on in my head. Could have done something like 10 minutes. But then the Moog company said, well, no, we really like you to play for about an hour and a half. I went, oh. In which case, then I'm going to need my band. Because I think they're going to get awfully bored with just seeing me up there on stage. So, that's the way it turned out. And I'm so lucky to be playing with guys like Mark Bonilla, Travis Davis, and the rest of them.
Yeah, the new drummer I think is great. Joe Travers.
Joe Travers, God.
A lot of people know him from, of course, the Mike Keneally band and Zappa Plays Zappa.
Yeah.
And so, what a nice surprise when he's
Yep. No.
We all saw the look.
Joe Travers.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
We were watching you when he was doing the drum solo. You were going, "What is this?"
Well, I mean,
there.
the rest of the band went off the stage, and I just sat where I was at the keyboards, and just went, "Wow." I was just part of the audience, and, incredible, and such a nice guy. They all are nice guys and very, very, very supportive.
Yeah.
Joe, Travis Davis, Mark Bonilla, very, very supportive, and that's the great thing about being with a band. If you look at them and they go, gee,
right.
And I've been with bands like that.
Sure.
Where you get that. I don't want to do that number again. So it was like completely, it's completely different, completely optimistic, even in the darkest moments of we only had a day's rehearsal,
right?
Even in the darkest moments that I had, that the band were very, very uplifting and pushed me through optimistically. Come on, well, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
So no, I'm very honoured to know them as friends, not only as musicians but as friends, primarily as friends and then as musicians.
No, it really shows, and again, people. I really urge people to check out the Keith Emerson Band record from a few years ago, because Mark, you and Mark, of course, worked on a lot of the pieces together, and you brought a lot of your individual music to it. But Mark just has a great voice, great guitar playing, and great producer.
Yeah, remarkably, he's got the ability in his vocal style to almost sound like the original records.
He can do that, right? When he's got a great voice of his own, and his solo records are great.
Yeah.
But you're right. When he needs
He's very adaptable.
Yeah. When he needs to portray a certain timbre, he can go there. He's great. It was wonderful too, I think, for everyone in attendance to see some great classics, Lucky Man and Jeremy Bender and with a banjo, and things like Tarkus. Of course,
Well, again was Mark Benier's idea
okay,
of doing Jeremy Bender, but calling it American Bender.
right.
And he wrote some really, really disgusting lyrics to it, which I was surprised he wasn't brave enough to do it on the night of performance.
Okay.
But they are really, really funny.
So we'll get the outtakes maybe from the rehearsal on that.
Yeah. If he's willing to get them printed out, he and I had a competition going actually. Who could come up with the worst set of lyrics for the original Jeremy Bender? I said, please don't let it sound like ELP, because ELP's Jeremy Bender, the lyrics there are very suggestive, and I think Pete Sinfield had a hand in that.
Sure.
I don't want to get into details, but I don't think it leads much to the imagination when you consider that what Jeremy Bender is about. But we took it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead.
At least 5.
Ahead of the original, and both Mark and I competed with lyrics.
Oh, that must have been silly. Yeah.
But at the basis of it all, the concept really was with the banjo, and to have it very sort of Aaron Copland-ish.
Right. Yeah.
Like an American classic.
Yeah. No, that's
kind of really. The whole song was based over "Oh Susanna,"
Yep. No,
that's basic. It's so simple, but there are chord changes which are different in there, and so yeah, we took advantage of that chord sequence, and of course took advantage with the lyrics.
That's great. No, to be up here in the Appalachian Mountains and kind of hear some American folk music was a great touch, because you guys went all over the map. I want to tie in, of course, besides the great band and yourself up on stage, one of the stars on stage was the most famous synthesizer on earth. I think it's not exaggerating to say that is it. And to see that thing come home to the Moog region, talk a little bit about that, because you're also here because due to the wonderful work of Gene Stopp and Brian Cahew and different people. Tell us what happened yesterday, the unveiling of the twin sister of the Beast.
What, the clone? No, actually, it's all down to Gene Stopp and Brian Cahew, who are completely like geniuses in their constructions of and keeping the world's most dangerous synth together and housing it and nursing it, and I'm really proud that the Moog company are in the process of producing the Keith Emerson Moog modular system. So it should be available for sale at some point.
Sometime soon.
At some expense.
I'm sure. I clicked on their website and there's a there's a home equity loan.
Well, you know that
application.
Fine. I paid for my original one. It cost me a lot of money. you know.
No, it's
So that's it. You know. But it seems to be. I'm so delighted. I wish Bob Moog was here right now. So he was a dear friend. I wish he was here to witness it, and I could just see him chuckling if he was sitting here, right here.
Yeah.
He would be laughing his head off and going, yeah. Because I don't think he had the confidence in what his creation could actually turn out to be. What it turned out to be was the fact that everybody from Japan to Germany, you name it, all over the world, every keyboard player eventually wants a Moog synthesizer.
Yeah.
There's bands in England that do ELP covers.
Mm-hmm. Naughty's
And
Puncture.
yeah,
They're wonderful.
yeah. Tom Zackley with Noddy's Puncture.
Yeah.
Going to great extremes to recreate and there are so many marvelous musicians and guys that want to keep up the tradition, and I wish that Bob was around to witness this, because as I said originally, he didn't have the belief in what he'd constructed, what he'd invented. Basically, his invention was just for the studio.
Right.
It wasn't to tour with. So I said, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I toured worldwide with the Moog synthesizer in Japan, going through. I played in a tornado at the Karayaku Stadium in 1972. It's gone through floods in upstate New York.
Sure.
It's gone through unbelievable things, but it's indestructible.
It sure is, man, and it's been to Russia. It's been all it's been all around.
Yeah, well, you were there.
Yeah, that's where I met you. One of the remarkable things too, and again, I know a lot of history buffs are watching, and I really urge people to look up all the people that you're mentioning, and to look up early. There's lots of videos of you and Bob early in the 70s talking and things like that. But the history is really amazing, and this exact instrument, it's 45 years old, and it just sounds amazing still. And
well, yeah. Once again, that's all down to guys like Gene Stop,
maintaining, yes,
and
Brian Cahew, yeah.
Yeah.
And you historians look those guys up, and excuse me, Brian Cahew wrote a wonderful book about the gear of the Beatles, and he works with the Who.
It's a big book.
It's a big one, yeah. It's not a little book. So Brian is a dear friend and just a tireless historian. We're gonna wrap up with just one or two other quick things. Again, we're all so happy to have you in Asheville and to have performed for us.
Well,
And,
it's definitely a beautiful town.
yeah, you got to walk around a little bit. Talk about that for
I
a
haven't
second.
had a chance.
No, okay.
Really. Apart from just going from one venue to the other.
Sure.
You know, but no, it's a delightful place, a delightful community, and just delightful people. You know, I mean, everywhere you go, they're all happy faces.
Sure. There's a lot to be happy up here. A lot of music and art and fresh air, and you know, we have our share of downsides too. But and
oh, well, don't we all?
Sure, everyone gets a dark day, but it's wonderful to be up here. And you did say that you guys felt right away at home, and you know, seeing the mountains.
Yeah, I would definitely. I was actually considering sort of moving from Santa Monica and moving out here, you know.
We love that. Wow. You heard it here first, folks. Well, we vote for that, and, you know, at least come visit again soon. And we also all hope that this splash of activity means that maybe you get the band back out there. And so we'll
Oh, I'm sure they'd be delighted to come
okay.
back.
Yes. Let's hope for that. So, again, we could sit here for hours, Keith, and we know you have to go and you have to.
Andre, I know we could.
We really could.
Well, don't let me stop you.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's. Well, tell us what's immediately next for you. So you go home and you're working on these orchestral pieces. Is that kind of you live in the L.A. area? That's all we'll say.
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And
the next thing on the agenda is that I'm attending my 70th birthday celebration up in where is it?
Long Island.
Oh, Long Island, right?
in New York. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a symphony orchestra where I shall be conducting again.
Fantastic.
Jeffrey Beagle will be playing my piano concerto. I shall be playing some piano solo stuff, and also introducing my string quartet arrangements, which is a 3-movement piece of
Sure.
music.
Okay.
Which is just finishing up. So that'll be a new challenge.
That's great.
So
Well, that's exciting, and we'll mark that date. Is it on your birthday? The show? You know what's the date
no,
of the
it's
show?
not on my birthday.
Do we have a date?
It's in October.
October. Okay, great. We'll have that links up and things like that. And it'll be on your website. And of course, you know, classical music, orchestral music is nothing new to you. One of my favorite things as a young ELP fan was when Works came out, and wow, you know, where you all kind of did your own thing there, and we got to hear the piano concerto and some of the other pieces. So this is great that you've continued the work with orchestras.
Yes, I'm continuing that direction, kind of inspired by my last conducting orchestral experience. And the string quartet is completely original material written by myself, and so that'll be different. I was rather hoping that the Kronos string quartet or the Emerson string quartet, nothing to do with me,
Right, yeah.
but you must have heard of them.
Sure.
You know, they may show interest in it.
That would be great.
It needs a little bit more work done, and that's what I do when I go back to California for about probably a week or so, and then go to England, and then fly back, and then go to Long Island and get into the conducting and all that stuff again. So yeah,
The journey continues.
The journey continues.
No,
Yes.
it's great to hear that, and I hope I'm off in October. I got to make some plans now. Come up to Long Island, as we all do. But
Well, I just don't want to become a decomposing composer.
that's correct. Yeah, Beethoven. That's all he's doing now. So yeah, you need to be composing for us. But it's been great, Keith, to sit with you here, and let's bring you back to Asheville soon and do it again.
Okay.
And thanks to Moog and all the amazing people who've helped put this on. And
Yeah,
ju-
absolutely.
just great too to see you with a lot of your old friends like Bernie Worrell and Michelle Moog
Yeah.
and Dave Borden and Dave Vancouvering and people. If you don't know those names, look these people up, because along with Keith, they rang that first bell, 50 years ago of synth music, and other people who weren't here, like Raymond Scott, who's very important. But I'm going to close by just saying and thanking Keith again, because all these people were doing music, but where most people first heard that sound, that epic piano, that epic Moog modular solo in Lucky Man. Everyone thanks you for that and kind of shakes their head in wonder, but that's where it started. Radios around the world, people said, what is that? And best of luck to you to continue this journey, and thanks again for Brainstorm.
Andre, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Here for you always. My favorite keyboard player, my favorite piano player, Mr. Keith Emerson. Good night, folks.